I'm Lisa, and I'm the mom half of this duo.
And I'm Shada. I'm Lisa's daughter. And welcome to Two Peas in a Plot, our little corner of the internet where we talk all things books.
We read across genres and love everything from underrated gems to longtime favorites.
And just a quick heads up, while we try to avoid spoilers, we do talk about what we liked or didn't, so there might be a few light spoilers along the way just to give you some context.
So if you love stories and want to grow your TBR, hit that subscribe button and join the plot. Hello, everyone. Today's book is Penny Plain by O. Douglas. And this book was a book club pick through Jen's Reading Life. I joined the Cozy Readers Book Club through her and really enjoyed this book. It's similar to a lot of other ones that I've read suggested by her channel. But I kind of was interested in the background of the author, so I'm going to go with information on that. Penny Plain was actually published in 1922, just after World War I, during a time when Britain was trying to settle back into everyday life after years of upheaval. And many readers were craving comfort and familiarity after, World War One. So books from this period often focused on home, community, and small personal moments. And I think that's why I like a lot of these authors back when they were published around this time or a little bit after, because they focused on just family life, not a lot of drama. I consider it more in that there's three descriptions I have: comfort read and domestic cozy. And this one has a little bit of a Cinderella-esque at the end, but that's all I'll say. But it's so sweet and so charming and just a lovely read, especially in between maybe something really like a literary fiction that's really upset you. The novel does focus on social routines, relationships, and quiet observations. And there's a gentle humor and kindness. And a lot of the people at this time in their lives really wanted that normalcy. So reading books like this, they really enjoyed. And the author, this was her pen name, O. Douglas, and her real name was Anna Buchan. She's a Scottish author who wrote during the early 20th century. She was part of a literary family, which this gets me here. I had to bring her brother in here. Her brother was John Buchan, the well known author of 39 Steps. And as you may have heard in a previous episode, my family would watch Alfred Hitchcock movies, and 39 Steps was a movie made from, I believe, after this book. And I don't remember the movie. I think I remember it being very scary or suspenseful. I think his movies were suspenseful to me. So I noticed in that Anna Buchan chose to write under a pseudonym and became especially popular for her warm, character driven novels that focused on women's lives, friendships, family dynamics, and quite emotional growth. And her books are known for their gentle humor, compassion, and keen observation of everyday life rather than dramatic plots. And that's a perfect description of the book that I could not go into detail. I don't think it matters what the book was about. The main character is about Jean, who lives in this house with her brothers and raises them because their parents have all passed. And unlike many authors of her time who focused on grand events, O. Douglas wrote stories that celebrated ordinary people and small communities, making her work comforting and relatable, particularly for readers who enjoy reflective, cozy reads. And that's the description, and it just leaves you like that. If you like that kind of book, which I do, it's just a lovely read. And I thought it was interesting in her obituary, The Scotsman noted, it has been objected that the people of her books are too pleasant, but at a time when fiction was passing through an ultra realistic phase, this pleasantness was a relief to many readers. So it was like And when you read to get away, or even now we watch TV to get away from the thoughts of the day or work in general. So it was a really good read. But a little bit different than some of the other books I've read that were printed maybe sometime after that. I think the only negative for me was a character in particular. I can't remember which character, and she would write in Scottish brogue, if that's how you pronounce it and how you describe it. I couldn't understand it. It was very hard to. So when I get to that, I'd have to skip it. So it's kind of disconcerting a little bit, but that's just me as a reader. It may not.
Disconcerting.
Is that right?
That means you're afraid of it.
Well, I was. I didn't even
Oh,
try to.
you're
I
afraid of the
was
Scottish brogue.
a word here and there, but the whole paragraph
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh,
And it,
I couldn't, it was like being back in school again, trying to, figure out something that you didn't understand, like a
well,
math problem.
I know some people had a problem with, I don't think it was a Scottish accent, but Hagrid and Harry Potter, the way he kind of,
Oh,
his dialogue is very choppy and not Scottish. Like
yeah.
especially if the character was speaking a Scottish dialect, even if you could figure out what it was, if you're not familiar with those very specific words that people use, I could see really having a problem understanding
I
that
think I would
character.
have been okay if it was on audio, someone reading it to me. But if I have to figure it out, oh, it just took me forever. I have a hard enough time with just the regular English language. As
It's
you can tell,
disconcerting.
it's very disconcerting.
Disconcerting.
And, I just make up words what they should mean rather than what they really mean,
Yeah.
too. So it's just my way of speaking. And I'm not a good speaker. As my
It
daughter,
keeps everything fresh, I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
Yeah.
As my daughter said, I'm more into movement. You didn't
You're
quite say it that way,
well,
but
no, I think we were talking about like different types of intelligence. You have a
oh,
very, very strong spatial body movement intelligence. You are an intelligent person, but I'm just saying like that is your strength, I think.
that is my strength, and that's my first love
Yeah.
is movement. I love going to the gym, taking now a tap class again. I don't know how many years later, and then I'm taking a mat Pilates class, which is really neat. That's a killer. Whew. And then besides all the other classes I take, I just really enjoy that. That's like my job now, besides
Oh yeah. Yeah.
talking to my daughter about books.
Well, what I'm gonna say first, I've got
Mhm.
some questions for you.
Okay.
Also, can you hear Ellie? She's barking.
I cannot hear Ellie.
All right, that's perfect. But first, I wanted to point out, and you had actually brought this to my attention, the domestic cozy.
Hmm.
I had never heard of that before, and it makes perfect sense. Like it's also, I feel like, well, I guess domestic could kind of be seen as slightly derogatory. I know that a lot of
Yeah.
people take issue with the genre styling women's fiction. Like, well,
Oh.
regular fiction is for men, but
Uh,
women can have this thing. Like I see some like aside from potentially the problematic nature of the words that are chosen to represent the genre, I do think it's um nicely named. And I also feel like you point out the cultural moment that people were in when this
mm,
book was published and the
hmm.
kind of yearning for that cozy, kind, quieter story. It reminds me of now. I mean, we're in a very, very volatile socio-political and arguably global space. And I feel like there's a massive push toward like, especially cozy fantasy. Cozy fantasy is having a moment right now. And cozy fantasy is very like it's fantasy, but it's like the daily lives of the characters. So it is that kind of domestic cozy as well. It just has magic in it. Okay. So usually you are asking the questions, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you some questions. And I feel like these are kind of structured like book club questions. So I'm going to pick one or two from each category here. So the overall experience. Um, and I think I might know the answer to this, but How did this book make you feel while you were reading it? Was it like cozy, or did you feel like, I don't know, like wrapped in a blanket, or how did you feel while you were reading it?
I think it just made me feel good. It made me feel good that these people were happy. They didn't have much. And the village life was just a community that you wish you could have. I think those days are gone, or if you do have them in your neighborhood, it's pretty rare. But they're kind of nosy too, so I don't know that I would like that part of
And
it.
it's kind of a double-edged sword
Yeah,
with those
but they go to
communities.
tea, and there's still those people that you don't really care for as much. But this main character, Jean, sees the good in everyone. And it's just, yeah, it's just a feel good. And it is nice. I think we've talked, I've heard the word, I think you've used it, palate cleanser,
Cleanser, palate cleanser.
palate cleanser. There's a southern accent coming out. I'm trying to avoid that. Palate cleanser in between, like something that's a heavy book or a murder mystery. It's just lovely to come back to something like this. And yeah, you're right. It's like a cozy, but I have to put the word domestic cozy, and not so much that they're cleaning or whatever domestic means. It just
No, it's
means
just it's like
family life.
family. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Family cozy. But yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
did.
very good at this.
No, I think you are. I think you're doing fine.
Okay.
Um, Now there are some questions on tone and style, which as a writer, I really like to dig into, but I'm going to
Mm,
kind of simplify it so you don't, because
yeah.
I know that's kind of boring to
No, I get a
most
little
people.
confused at the question and the wording.
Well, I'll
Uh,
redirect you if you're confused.
okay.
If you're not giving me the answer I want to hear, or not the answer I want to hear, but if you're not
Um,
quite answering it, I'll redirect you. Don't worry. Um, yeah, my biggest question is because it is almost 100 years old. Um, did the language feel accessible? Or did it feel? I'm assuming I know that some people write with like a more dated affectation, like some current authors, to build that cozy
mm.
vibe. It will sound very quaint and British. Usually, I don't know why that's the kind of mode. Um, but did it sound very quaint and British, or was it accessible, or was it both, like accessible but also cozy and quaint?
I think the only thing that I remember being was the Scottish dialect was really
Yeah.
hard. And a word here and there would have been better for me, or I should have listened to it being read to me. But other than that, I don't remember the words the way they talked, because I guess I don't focus on that. I'm focused on the feeling that the characters give me
Well, and I think
and the
that,
atmosphere.
yeah, I think that makes sense then. So, because you were focused on the characters and the atmosphere, I think the language wasn't an issue. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't super dated because it didn't bother you.
Yeah, it didn't bother me at
I
all.
mean, except for dialect,
Right. I
which no author really does well. And actually, one of the author podcasts that I listened to, they were talking about pitfalls that authors can make, and it's having characters speak in a really thick accent. If
mm,
you are like transcribing the accent word for word and sound for sound,
yeah,
like it sounds like this character was,
right.
it totally. I think one of the podcast hosts described it as trying to decipher hieroglyphics. Like it's just impossible to understand. Like you don't want to use your brain power for that. So their
Right.
suggestion was just throw in a word every once in a while
Yes.
that reminds you that this character has a thick accent.
Right.
And
And
I, yeah,
that's what happened in this other character. I'd get a word here and there, but when it was a full paragraph, it was like,
oh
oof.
yeah. And I think actually I had some trouble with that. I feel like many, like 20 plus years ago when I read Huck Finn,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a character that has a thick regional accent, and
Yeah.
it's you can read it, but it slows you down like to an unnatural pace to until you get into the rhythm of it.
Right.
But yeah, and two, I didn't have an issue with Hagrid, but he does have a very, very phonetic driven, like that's the way his dialogue is written. And again, one of the hosts on this podcast was pointed out Hagrid as
Huh.
she was like, I couldn't read it, or I couldn't understand it. And That one I don't think was too much of an issue, but if you go
Yeah.
back and look at it, it is very like there are a lot of apostrophes and things because he has that kind of that accent. This is a very interesting kind of characters and connection, and I'm going to kind of hybridize a few of these
Hmm.
questions here. So, were there any characters that you felt especially drawn to? And then also, I guess because you're connecting with the characters, who do you think would connect most with the book overall? Like what type of reader? So I know those are two kind of separate questions, but I,
So the first question was connecting with a character.
yeah, were there characters that you felt especially drawn to?
Oh yeah. Jean was the main character. I'm not very good at picking out the main character, but to me, Jean was, and then she meets Pamela later on. And those two to me made the story, but so did the side characters and Jean's brothers had a lot, especially her little brother, and believe it or not, it must be the way they write. The kids didn't bother me at all.
That's good because
I know.
sometimes child characters can be
Yeah.
very annoying. The second question is, who do you think would connect most with this book? And to me, that's like, what type of reader do you think would really enjoy this?
I think anyone who would love a quiet read, um, it's a feel-good story. Again, it's a comfort read, and I'm going to describe it again as a domestic cozy. Nothing dramatic happens, nothing sad. It's just about people and their lives as they go day to day, but it has a very sweet ending. It has a lot of sweetness throughout the book. It's what the way I would
Yeah,
describe it.
that's very interesting. One of my favorite shows, which you know, is As Time Goes By, and
Hmm.
it's got Judi Dench and Jeffrey Palmer, and it has a very high concept hook. I think they're in their late 50s when the series opens, but they were first loves almost 40 years prior, and then she thinks he got sent to Korea during the Korean War. She thinks he got killed. Basically they lost touch and they thought they'd never see each other again. And the series opens with them meeting and realizing, "Oh my God, that's
Hmm.
you." And but the whole series is just them kind of
Yeah.
reconnecting and going through their lives, and there's no real dramatic conflict or anything. And I feel like it's so cozy. And I'm thinking, again, I'm always thinking as a writer, I'm like, I don't know how I could write that. I write epic fantasy mainly, but I also love sci-fi. And if I'm starting to feel a lull, I throw in something explosive or a sword or something like that. I don't know how to. I love those kinds of cozy stories. So I think I would really enjoy this too. I just don't know how to write them. My brain
Right.
doesn't work like that.
I'm always
So,
surprised when I read them. I think my first one that I read that I remember was Near Neighbors. That was the closest to this. And I don't, it's not the same imprint that I know. I don't know, but it just feels like the same type of writing.
yeah. Oh, and speaking of, I was like, I feel like I've heard another word for, not word, but
Hmm.
phrase for domestic cozy. Again, kind of circling back to the current cozy like subgenre is fantasy right now, and a lot of people describe it as slice of life fantasy.
Oh, oh,
Slice of life instead of domestic,
yeah. Oh,
slice of
yeah.
life, I
Yeah.
think. I feel like that's less gendered. That's
Right.
less it's and I know it's not as I guess it's a phrase rather than one specific word, but yeah, it's a slice of life.
Slice
It's
of,
not necessarily
yes.
family or, but just these people going about their lives in a
Hmm.
safe and cozy space. Uh, Along with that, I know the answer to these, but since this is a quieter story, did it ever feel too slow for you? I feel like no, but did you ever get a little bogged of like, well, let's get to the next thing?
I didn't know what the next thing would be. So sometimes it did feel a little slow, but I enjoyed that. I mean, the slowness was maybe in their day-to-day life and what they did, but it was rare. Probably it could have been just because I was unsettled and couldn't I put it down to me as the reader that I was having a hard time just settling into the book because maybe something else was on my mind that I needed to be doing
Oh
rather
yeah.
than reading.
I know, I understand that. I know that
Yeah.
feeling. Um, and I guess so along with that, what kept you turning the pages because the plot isn't really fast
Yeah.
moving.
I think it's just the characters. I enjoyed Jean. I wanted to know more about her. And every day brought something new, kind of new and different, or a different way of going about it because the boys were busy, her brothers. And then she met this man who came into her life, which I knew as a reader, but she didn't know who it was. It was her landlord. I won't be giving too much away. He's dying and he wanted to kick them out of the house that he rented to them and die there. But
Oh
when
wow,
he
that's
yeah,
kind of dramatic.
when he meets Gene, he's in old clothes because he's made billions. He doesn't have any family and he still wears his old clothes. He's not one to spend his money unnecessarily. So he had these raggedy clothes. So she thinks he's poor. And her in her heart and the kind of person she is, she's like, well, stay here. You're obviously not feeling well. We'll take care of you. And he's going, no, 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 I have a hotel room, in wherever town. But in the story, he doesn't want to leave his money to a hospital. He wants to leave it to the first person who's kind to him. And that's
I
all
see.
I'm going to say. So that's a big event, but Pamela comes into her life and she's like a very wealthy person who wants, and she's in her 40s and isn't married, and she needs to get away from her life to figure out if she doesn't want to marry this man like it because she's a single and she has no one else in her life but her
Oh
brother.
yeah, she's an old maid.
Yeah. They don't quite say that, but yeah, that's what it hints at to me.
Yeah.
And so she goes away to this town and meets Jean and is just loves this town and the people love her. And so it's different every day. I didn't feel that it talked about the countryside as much as I thought it would. I mean, it was there in parts, but it was just mostly about these family lives. And it sounds kind of boring if you talk about it to someone, but if you've read this kind of book, you know what to expect. And because
Well,
I had read Near Neighbors, I was fine with nothing really dramatic happening.
yeah, and I think you said it's more about these nice people and kind of the atmosphere that it builds. Like you can
Yeah,
kind of relax into that. That's honestly
right.
that's how I feel about Harry Potter. Like the Gryffindor
Yeah,
common room, just kind of
yeah,
hanging out around Hogwarts. A lot of stuff happens in those books, but I think why I love them so much is because they do have that really strong cozy element. I think it
yeah.
was cozy fantasy before cozy fantasy, although it does get dark. I
It
mean, it
gets
even starts
dark.
out pretty dark
Yeah,
with, just the situations and everything and the his aunt and uncle's house. I mean, they're
right.
abusive. Like it's bad.
Yeah.
Like it starts out pretty dark, um but yeah, that I think it sounds like this book does a really good job of building a space where you can feel like, oh, I'm cozy. I'm maybe not
Hmm.
at home, but just feeling like you can kind of wrap yourself up in it like a blanket.
Yeah, it just takes you to a different part in your life and it kind of settles you to me. I mean, it settled me so much. I just got on and I bought a bunch of more books.
Oh,
Um,
wow. That's,
yeah, when you were with me, I was like,
oh,
oh, I
yeah.
want
And
that
I
one. I
was
want that one. And two are coming today, two are coming tomorrow. But I bought specifically in, I don't know if it was that time frame, but the imprint that I absolutely love that I haven't bought more of until now is I can never say it.
furrowed middle brow.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Well,
Okay.
it's funny. You see, again, you say that, and I'm like, I'm looking for. I have a really warped sense of cozy. I have a very traditional sense of cozy, like usually British things that that are very traditionally cozy. And then I have my other cozy spot is zombie stuff, which is
Yeah.
Nick and I, my for listeners, my little brother, he tried to get me to play The Last of Us, the video game series for years and years. And then we finally started playing it right before the second one came out. My partner and I started playing it, and we loved it. And Nick was like, well, I told you. And Vincent's brother was trying to get him to play it too for years and years. So we finally played it. And then the second game came out we finished it right before the second game came out. The second game came out, and that one was like, I I love a lot of games, but that one might be my favorite game in the world. And something about it is so cozy to me. It is
Yeah.
a brutal game. It is very bleak, but I think because I feel such a kinship with the characters.
Hmm.
So that's a long-winded way of saying my cart, my Amazon cart, has multiple zombie books in it
That's
right now
funny.
that I'm like, well, should I get these? So, and I'm pretty picky though about my zombie novels. Like they have to be, I've been burned and very disappointed by certain ones.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so I'm kind of reaching for a cozy thing that I want to go into
Yeah.
also. It's just this one is kind of weird. It's not a tradition. Oh, and Nick was saying when I was like, there's just something so cozy about The Last of Us Part 2. And he was like, what is wrong with you? He loves the game, but he's like, I don't know what's wrong with you that you think that game is cozy.
That's funny. It's funny. I think
Well,
it's like puzzles for me. I enjoy sitting down in a puzzle, and it doesn't appeal to everyone. It didn't
oh
appeal to
yeah,
me when I was younger,
I
and my
can't do it.
mom would
It
do
makes
them.
me mad. Like if I
Yeah.
can't, I just sit there and I'm like, I think it's a detriment to me. I think I'm so used to having that instant gratification. I don't want to
Yeah.
sit there and puzzle out the structure of the puzzle. But uh,
It's just
yeah,
satisfying. I don't know what it
yeah.
is. It makes me feel accomplished. I just finished that weird one I showed you. Now I've got a new one, and it's a bookshelf. Beautiful, very colorful, and it's got books in it and flowers, which are my favorites, and very colorful. And oh, I'm just like, oh, in heaven. And I
Oh
have one of
yeah.
those puzzle tables that rotate.
Oh, see, that's really nice though.
Yeah.
But I also, yeah, I see a puzzle and I'm like, I'm
Yeah, it's
stressed
not
out. I'm
fun.
gonna go play a video game.
It didn't appeal to me until phew, I don't know how old I was, maybe in my 40s or 50s. And it was one thing that we could do with my mom that all three of us would do together. Me, my brother, and my mom would sit around
Yeah.
her puzzle table.
Yeah, I
It
remember
didn't
that.
rotate. I had to work upside down because
Oh,
mom liked it facing her.
should have
So it
made your
was,
brother work upside down.
well, my brother did it sideways. He,
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I see. You were on
yeah,
different, yeah, different.
it
Okay.
wouldn't move. So,
All right. Well, I'm gonna switch over to a lightning round
okay.
question thing. And I know that when you do these lightning rounds for me,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, don't do any long explanations, just the first answer that comes to your mind. And
Right.
I'll do one and then I'll give you a long explanation. So if you do that, that's okay. But
Okay.
all right. First word that comes to mind after reading Penny Plain.
Cozy.
Read it in one sitting or a little at a time.
Both, but I prefer to drag it out.
Okay. That makes sense. Savor it.
Savor it. Sorry,
Yeah.
drag it out. Yeah.
No, yeah. Well, I wasn't even thinking that. No, but you're savoring it by dragging
Yeah,
it
correct.
out. Favorite part of the book, characters or atmosphere?
Characters.
This book feels more like a cup of tea or a long walk.
A cup of tea after a long walk.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's nice. Um, would you reread it on a cozy afternoon? Yes or no?
Yes.
All right, cool. Well,
All
that's
right.
it for our rapid fire.
Well, as always, we appreciate you hanging out with us. Thanks for being here and talking books with us.
And if you love stories and want to grow your TBR, hit that subscribe button and join the plot with us, and we'll see you in the next chapter. Bye, y'all.
Bye bye.